like I wanted to discuss something very important, which we are all scared of, right? Like we're all scared of aging. That as older, we kind of do all these like expensive treatments, or
Yep,
to not look old, like Botox,
yep,
and all this expensive supplements and all this plastic surgery and all of that.
yep,
But we forget that aging is not just timing; it's also inflammation. You know,
yes,
and aging is not just about birthdays. So biologically, it's strongly linked to something called inflammation, and it is actually called inflammaging.
yes.
Chronic low-grade inflammation in your body. So here's the part that most people don't realize, that a big part of that starts in your gut.
Yes.
So as we age, our gut microbiome changes. So we lose the beneficial bacteria, and most of the studies have been done on Bifidobacter, and we produce fewer and fewer of the anti-inflammatory components, and also the gut barrier that becomes weak.
Yes.
The one microbiome that has been shown to be responsible for aging is Bifidobacter. So
Okay.
so they did this study on newborn babies, and they looked at the Bifidobacter in the newborn babies, and then a very old, like 75, 80-year-old person, and they already have, so the newborn has like millions and trillions of Bifido, whereas this older person has almost zero. So Bifidobacter and the microbiome is highly linked to kind of aging and also inflammation and chronic diseases. So that's one. And then as we age, the anti-inflammatory components, they go down. And the gut barrier, as you know, it becomes weaker. So that leads to more and more inflammation in your body. And
Yep.
doesn't just show up with disease, it also shows up as things that we very normalize. And those are things like fatigue, brain fog, poor sleep, joint pain, all of those things, which we think is a normal part of aging. We call it aging, but it's most often related to inflammation.
Okay.
So the good news is you can influence this. You can change this. And there are three things that you can start to decrease this. So what this will do is it's going to decrease the inflammation in your body, and it will reverse the aging process. And obviously, this is not an overnight fix like plastic surgery or Botox.
Right. I know it.
It's more of a long game, like if you do it consistently every day, then it kind of has an effect on, your inflammation and how you feel as you age. So let's talk about those three things. So first is, it may sound cliche, but coming from a gastroenterologist, but the very first one is fiber.
Yep.
When you take fiber, you feed your gut, and that reduces the inflammation. So what's the best way of, having fiber? Sure, we can take different supplements that's available in the market, but I think the best thing is, along with taking supplements, is having fruits and vegetables, right?
Yep.
More so than fruits, because fruits also have sugar in it. So eating more and more of the vegetables, and there are different varieties of vegetables that you could eat on a daily basis. Now, this is not something that you would do only for 1 or 2 weeks when you want your gut to heal. It's a lifestyle thing.
Right. Right.
Every day, with every meal, you should be eating vegetables.
Yes.
And we have this tendency of having more carbs, little bit of vegetables, and maybe protein. So now protein is gaining a lot of
Yes.
so everybody is having more and more protein, which is great. But I think if you don't combine that with good carbs, which is vegetables, then it doesn't do much good. I see a lot of patients who are trying to lose weight. They will have like a keto diet, which is protein rich, but it's also fat rich, and almost like vegetable is optional. So it doesn't do any good. You might lose some weight, but then the inflammation, the underlying chronic low-grade inflammation stays, and that's why you don't feel good. You might lose some weight, but your microbiome is still not healthy. The only way to increase the diversity of microbiome in your gut is by eating fiber and by including more and more vegetables in your diet.
Okay.
So that's the first thing. And again, the best way is to have it every day. As you know, in my program, so I have this Biome Booster tracker, right, where you are supposed to have 30 different types of vegetables in a week. And you can track that with the tracker, that's in the program. And what does that mean? That means you shouldn't be eating broccoli every day, or type of vegetable. You have to include like 30 different in a week. So if you're doing 10, then that's great. If you're doing 20, you're awesome. But if you're doing 30, then you have a diversity of microbiome in your gut that will make you very, very resilient. And it's not just about like vegetables, it's also herbs. So for example, if you have ginger and garlic, that also counts. So if you have basil and cilantro and all those like different herbs, that's also count as one.
Okay.
And then in a week, if you had broccoli today and then you're having broccoli tomorrow, that does not count as two. It's only one because it's just one variety that you're eating.
Okay.
That's the whole point of like increasing the variety. In this one, the powdered or dry herbs do not count. We are only talking about fresh herbs and fresh vegetables. Okay. That's the number one step to increase more fiber in your diet. If you want like more guidance on that, then in the program, there is a whole video and there is a whole tracker on how to do that. So, you can go over that one. So that's one. The second thing that would help you with reversing your age is sleep.
Yes.
So having like 7 to 10 hours of good sleep, because when you have a good sleep, during the sleep, you regulate your gut as well as your immune system. So sleep is extremely important for reverse aging. And again, there are different ways that sleep hygiene that you have to maintain, that you can do to have proper sleep at bedtime. Again, in the program, there is like a whole talk about sleep hygiene and how you can improve your sleep so that you're getting at least 7 to 8 hours of sleep. So that's number second. And third one, which I always keep talking, but I can't talk enough about, is nervous system regulation, which is the parasympathetic nervous system, the vagus nerve. Calming your body is going to decrease the inflammatory signals. So how can we do that? We can stimulate the vagus nerve by doing a variety of things. We can do humming, we can do breath work, we can do meditation. So as you know, in the program, I have 2 gut induced meditation or hypnotherapy, which is just like 10 to 15 minutes. If you do it like 1 meditation in the morning, 1 meditation in the evening, that's going to help with your nervous system regulation and decrease inflammation. There are like almost like 20, 30 ways by which you can stimulate your vagus nerve. Cold water plunges, again, very important to stimulate your vagus nerve. We also have devices that you can actually put in your neck.
Yes.
Which will stimulate the vagus nerve. Some people find it very, very helpful. But if you ask me, I'm like, you can do that naturally by doing the things, so you don't really need a machine. But for example, if you don't have time to do like meditation or breath work, or you're not very motivated to do this, then you can use the machine. But I believe that natural ways are better. So if you could do these things like cold water plunges, breath work, meditation, humming is another important one that you could do to improve the vagus nerve. But if you like singing, that's another one. If you sing, that stimulates your vagus nerve. Hugging, when we hug people, that's very stimulating for your vagus nerve as well. So all are different things that we could do to calm our vagus nerve. And I feel like this is such an important topic. I can make like a 2-hour video on this, but that's fun. That's the third thing that I think we should do. So again, to recap, the first thing how to reverse age is to first fiber, eating a lot of fiber, 30 different plant products. Sleep, good sleep, 7 to 8 hours of uninterrupted sleep. And then stimulation of vagus nerve or parasympathetic nervous system that will decrease your inflammation. So aging is inevitable, but how your body ages, that's something that you can influence by doing these 3 things. So I think these are very simple, but once you start doing it consistently, you will see the change over time. And then over time, you would be like, oh my God, I feel better than how I felt in my 30s or 40s, what's going on.
Yes.
And it's very simple. It's not complex or it's not rocket science, but it's about consistency. First is awareness. You should be aware that these things are beneficial to you, you know. Then it comes the hard work of doing it, incorporating it into your daily life, you know, making a commitment to yourself that you're going to do it. And the most important part, which is the last part, is consistency, not just doing it for 1 week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks, doing it in such a way that it becomes like a reflex action, like a part of your daily routine rather than an effort. So that's when you start to see the changes.
Yes.